Hello, welcome to the Steve Team's Mind Your Own Back program. The Steve Team Mind Your Own Back program, also known as MYOBack, involves mind, body, and prana. So here is the human spine, our balancing act. And you can see in the picture on the left that we have sections as we mentioned before. We have the sacrum-lumbar region, we have the pelvis and the first joints which constitute the very foundation of the spine. So from the foundation up comes the lumbar section, then the thoracic section, then the cervical section, and every one of them with vertebrae of slightly different shape as they do different functions. Generally speaking, the vertebrae are quite big at the foundation, right at the bottom, and as they go up, they get smaller and smaller, as the weight that they need to carry will be less and less. So as you see, the very first joint as the sacrum is one that takes a huge turn to become vertical, because your spine really starts with the original intention to be horizontal. So this first joint is one that takes a huge turn to become vertical. So the first joint turns 50 degrees, which is a tremendous turn for one joint. Apart from that, that joint is sitting in an angle compared with the rest. So in MYOBack, we aim at restoring the spine back to its healthy position. Now the spine is made out of segments called vertebrae, and these vertebrae are piled up on top of each other as in the drawing, and they are separated by discs. The discs have flexible rubbery joints, and they will allow the flexibility and buoyancy of the spine, and also will be preventing the vertebrae from colliding against each other. If you observe the vertebrae here, you'll see that they have a front section, which is where the discs go in between. And the front section is shaped very much like a drum. And by the way, this vertebra will have a lot of porosity inside, and in there you have like honeycomb sort of porosity, and with a lot of fluid inside. There will be blood and fluid, and of course we know that we make blood inside the bones. Now in this drawing we are looking at an individual disc, and the top vertebra has not been drawn, so that we can easily look at the inside of the disc, so we can discuss about the inner components of the disc. And here you can see that the discs are made of layer upon layer of fibrous material, so that, like in the radial tires in your car, will give you the maximum structural value of the whole thing. The hardness or toughness of the fibers in your disc are very much like the tires in your car. If you take a slice of rubber of your tires, this disc in your back will have very much the same hardness. It's pretty tough and strong stuff. Now as you see, there are many layers, more than a dozen layers, and right at the center of the disc we have a different substance, which is a mucous substance. And this mucous substance will have the characteristic of absorbing fluid very eagerly and quite fast. And then will be stubborn to let it go. It wants to keep the fluid. And that will make the disc a real shock absorber. It will come up quite easily, and it will resist compression. One point that is very important to understand about the disc is that the layers of fibers, the mucous substance, they have no blood vessels. In fact, no vessels at all. The question then arises, how do they get the nutrients, and how do they get rid of the toxins? As you know, every part of the body will have to be constantly renewing itself. Nutrients in, toxins out, rebuilding itself. How do the discs do that? In this picture, we see a couple of vertebrae. On the left, the vertebrae are compressing a disc. And it's by the action of compression that eventually some fluid will come out of the disc. And with that, the toxins will be coming out of the disc. So the mucous substance, under a lot of pressure, will release fluid. Slowly, but eventually will release fluid. So this is how the discs get rid of the toxins. And how do they absorb fluid? In the picture on the right, you can see that the two vertebrae have been cut in half to show you that there is porosity inside. There are holes inside. There is a honeycomb type of arrangement and is full of blood and fluid. And then it's by the act of decompression. This is when you're resting at night, you are doing some special stretchings, yoga asanas, or you are doing the MYOBack practice where the decompression occurs, and then the discs, and particularly the mucous substance, will be trying to absorb fluid whatever it is available from. And then you see that the vertebra, which is made out of porous bone, is not totally sealed towards the disc. It will have some porosity that will allow fluid to filter through into the disc. So it's during the decompression cycle that the fluid will flow into the disc. The disc will be sucking fluid from the vertebra. Therefore, the vertebra will be sharing fluid with the disc. And this is how the disc absorbs nutrients. We know everything in the body needs to be renewed, so this is how the disc renews itself. So the renewal is done by alternative cycles of compression and decompression, fluids in, fluids out. So we can say now that the disc will literally breathe in nutrients and breathe out toxins, breathing in and breathing out fluids. And it is by these cycles of breathing in and breathing out fluids that you renew and keep your disc alive and healthy. You don't want to be compressing your disc all the time. And of course it's not good. They would end up collapsing. On the other hand, you don't want your disc to be breathing in fluid all the time. It's not possible anyway. So you need a constant alternation of fluid exchange, breathing in and breathing out fluids, and that is what keeps your disc healthy. Of course, if we are talking about disc, it is a good idea to keep the fluids up by drinking plenty of it all day long. Now, if you look at the pelvis from the front, you can see different ligaments inside the front section of the pelvis. These are the ligaments that are holding all the different pieces together. There you can see the vertebra L5 and also the L4 shown in the drawing. And you can imagine how the L5 is sitting on the rubbery disc, which is a little bit flexible, of course. And then you have ligaments pulling in all different directions. You can imagine those ligaments as springs. So here we have the foundation, the very start of your spine, beginning with an arrangement where everything is held by springs, pulling in different directions, keeping a very delicate balance. So this is where in the Steve Timms MYOBack program, or MYOBack, everything begins by restoring balance in this very foundation of your spine by the most powerful and effective exclusive technique that resets your pelvis, your very foundation of the spine, to its natural, healthy position. This is the most fundamental step because as you lose muscle tone, whatever you do in your activity, there is no guarantee that the ligaments at the right are going to lose muscle tone in the same way that the ligaments at the left, or the ones at the top will change in the same way than the ligaments at the bottom. So all these springs or ligaments can become uneven, throwing the whole foundation and pelvis out of balance, causing distortions at the very base of the spine. Now, if you have distortions at the very foundation, what then will happen to the rest of your spine all the way up, which is in itself a balancing act? So this is where in MYOBack we begin at the very foundation to make sure the foundation and pelvis are set up properly, to get you properly centered and properly balanced, including restoring the opening of the very first joint, the one that turns 50 degrees to become vertical. So whatever your body will allow to balance and open, you should achieve that point with your personal instructions of the MYOBack practice. Of course, this is MYOBack, the Mind Your Own Back program. Therefore, you are the one doing all this and achieving your maximum potential. Once you get the foundation right, you can then propagate the benefit in a domino effect all the way up the spine. So this is what you are going to be doing in your personalized practice of MYOBack. So wrapping up now, we can say that in your individually designed MYOBack program, you will be aiming at restoring your back to its healthiest possible position. You will be opening up your lower joints. You will be opening up your back, getting the ideal flexibility you can achieve, and therefore restoring health, buoyancy, flexibility, and of course happiness. Nearly 200 Irish men and women who had lost hopes for a cure of their back problems by any other means achieved remarkable results in the European summer of the year 2010. Each one of these individuals received their own tailor-made personal version of the Steve Tim Mind Your Own Back program, according to their own personal needs. Since many of these people had difficulty to fully reproduce the original program, then it became clear that every individual required their own tailor-made individual program on their own personal DVD cut to their needs. And with that, they could reproduce their program anytime they like for the rest of their life. So MYOBack is now offering personalized tailor-made program on DVDs for every back situation. To select your right program, there will be some questionnaires and some possible consultation needed in order to determine your specific needs. Then the DVDs are created to cover all the subtle points for your very specific needs. So this way, by having your own personal DVD, you will be able to exactly reproduce your program anytime you like. So the DVDs will cover for your needs the exclusive Steve Tim's setting of the pelvis in every detail. Then, based on the proper setting of the pelvis, achieving that fundamental part of the program, you will be able to do some specific well-known asanas in a very complete way where there will be coordination of mind, body and prana. Going through the steps of the program, you will learn the best way to relax yourself, removing tensions from your spine, and to do the program asanas in the most effective way. By having your own personal DVD, you will have all the specific points precisely and concisely according to your own personal needs, covering every subtle point you need to know. The idea is to give you all the tools you need to achieve your very personal program in the best possible way for the rest of your life. Mind Your Own Back means being able to achieve total self-sufficiency. Please visit mindyourownback.com.